Welcome to Beyond Awareness Podcast, a conversation brought to you by United Against Human Trafficking, where we believe all people are deserving of freedom, resources, and support. Join us monthly as we educate, analyze, and connect with communities to examine the challenges of triumphs in the fight against human trafficking and explore what it truly means to support survivors. Without further ado, let's dive deeper, forever be students of one another, and unite together in the fight against human trafficking. Thank you for tuning in to Beyond Awareness Podcast. I'm really excited to talk with our guest. We're going to jump right on in and have them introduce themselves. We'll start with Mindy.
Hi, guys. My name is Mindy Murphy. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator with Refuge for Women, Texas Gulf Coast. We provide aftercare housing and services to women who have escaped human trafficking and sexual exploitation.
Thank you. Lara?
My name is Lara Coursey. I'm the founder and director of Freedom Collaborative. We are a education nonprofit where we educate the community about resources and opportunities in anti-human trafficking space. We offer monthly volunteer opportunities and a free community annual event every year.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us again. So we're going to jump right on in. As a person of faith, what called you to the work in anti-human trafficking?
On the topic of faith, I think God is really just in the center of everything, working in all of his wonderful, mysterious ways. And all the good, bad, and ugly that we've experienced in our life is him working to make us better. And I distinctly remember the day that I decided I was going to be in this space. I went to a training, and it was a training for an outreach, and Stephanie was my trainer. She's amazing. She taught me more than I ever thought I could ever know in 2 hours, and I thought, this is where I have to be. I have always had a heart for women in a cycle of domestic abuse. I did my internship in college, did not end up pursuing that, but that was always something that I knew I was supposed to be a part of. And human trafficking is the cycle, but way, way worse, right? And so when I heard about this and just learned a little bit about it, I thought, it was just a light bulb moment. And that was God speaking to me. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what it was going to look like. But I knew this is the day that I'm going to start.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, for me, it's totally a God thing. I was in a situation personally with my daughter about 10 years ago. Her situation was unexpected, and due to a medical problem, I had several doctors that actually placed a value on her life, saying really she wasn't worth it. She wasn't worth the struggle to remain pregnant and carry her because she wasn't going to survive. For me, I didn't realize it at the moment, but man, God was just working in me and teaching me things. And she would have been 12 this year. But what I have learned from all of that, her life is such a testimony to us personally. No man has the right to place value on any life. And that just is so prevalent to me in this line of work. You know, it really takes a special person. It's not just 40 hours a week and you don't go home at 5, you know. It's like in your innermost being, you have to be aligned in your faith and your purpose and being in this line of work. And for me, that just became super clear that this is definitely where I want to be. Every life has value. And so I'm here to stand up for her so that she has purpose and meaning and can find God, through whatever she's going through.
That leads me to another question about barriers that survivors face in the faith community. So what barriers do you think survivors face when seeking help from faith communities? I have a whole lot of thoughts on that.
Yeah, we can definitely go in a lot of different directions. I think that, there's a lot from the conversations that I've had with survivors and victims. It sometimes can surprise me on how many do believe in God, how many people do have faith. But then on the flip side, they're also angry at God. And because they're thinking, how could he allow me to go through this? And so that can be a barrier for them of fear of, if I get close to God, is it going to be better or worse? Yeah. I've heard that kind of dialogue when I've had dialogues with them before.
Sure. Yeah. I think we are quick to judge. Mm-hmm. You might see her on the side of the street and you're like, what is she wearing? What is she doing? Like, go home and make better choices. What are you, But what we don't understand is that her pimp, her John, has got her working out there. And she's been out there all day. And she's going to be out there all night. And when she gets home, she may not have somewhere to sleep. She may have 5 or 10 more men come to visit her. She may not have food. We do not understand the backstory or the situation. And we live in a culture that's so me, right? Like Facebook, MySpace, all this stuff. It's all about me. Here's my selfie. Here's my Starbucks, blah, blah, blah. We're so self-centered. We need to open our eyes, stop judging, and realize the root of the problem. Why is she out there? Stop asking, there's so much more to every single person's situation. I think just a faith perspective, are you going to practice what you preach? Mm-hmm. Are you going to church to sit there for an hour and be Christian for that hour? And the second you leave, you're flipping off somebody because they cut you off in the parking lot, right? Are we going to call ourselves Christian? Or are we going to walk biblically and practice what we preach?
I grew up hearing something about Christians, and I am a Christian. Sometimes we're so heavenly bound, we're no earthly good.
That's good.
And that's what I think of when I think of barriers in the church, because this is really, it doesn't hit home, but I see it. I'm so passionate about how other people are treated. And you can't walk in a church dressed a certain way.
Right. That's true.
Right? You have to, and they use scripture to say, well, you got to, dress up for the church or whatever that is. In my opinion, they misinterpret scripture a lot.
For sure.
And you can't walk in. And I've seen and heard where people were escorted out of the church because they are inappropriately dressed or they don't look like they belong here. And I don't want to get...
You're opening a whole can of worms.
I know.
Because, it comes down to like what man is leading that church.
Yeah.
You know, like this
and
could
you
get
also
real
have
deep.
to realize, unfortunately, some of the men buying these girls are pastors.
Yep. And then what?
Churchgoers.
Right.
Husbands,
and calling themselves
fathers,
Christians. Exactly.
Christians.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And they sit high, physically sit high, and they look low, and they hide or try to hide the things that they're doing. And I am open. I'm trying not to go there. Maybe.
That's a whole nother show.
I'm really having a hard time right now. But I think about immigration and Christianity or religion. Let's just do religion or faith-based, right? I think about poverty, racism, and isolation. And it's a whole lot of that goes on in the faith-based community. And so I think it's a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes down to human trafficking and really get into the faith-based work. I know it's a lot of faith-based organizations out there. It's a lot. I think it's probably one or two who are not or that are not faith-based. But it's a lot of work that needs to be done. Go ahead.
Or there's one or two that may be faith-based, but they don't announce that they're faith-based because, unfortunately, there's a lot of funding that you won't get if you say, we believe in Jesus. And we're okay with that because our God's way bigger.
That's right.
But that's the sad truth is they may be faith-based at their core, but they're not going to say that out loud. We have no shame.
Yes,
we love our Jesus.
Neither do I.
Yeah.
Right. So. Well, that's good to know. Let's talk about partnerships between organizations and churches. So what does a healthy partnership between churches and anti-trafficking organizations look like? And I think that may be a good question for you.
Okay. Yeah. So I have been very blessed to find a church that will allow you to show up and come as you are, and they're not going to escort you out. And that is really, I think that's on one of their flyers or something, like come as you are. Mm-hmm. And that's so important because not everybody is ready to look the part because they're broken, just like the rest of us. Some of us could just have nicer clothes, but we're still broken. Right. And my church started our outreach and at one of our other campuses. And that's when I realized, I want to bring it to my campus because I don't want to commute, let's be honest. And they've just been, whatever you want to do. We'll support whatever options that you want to have here. And then they allowed me to start my annual event and let me host it there. And what's been really a nice shift to see is because I am maybe pushy, they will talk about it on the stage. And they're slowly starting to talk about it more. And now we're going to start a resources program for men and teens specifically so that they can have resources to just learn more about it. What it means, I think y'all had a podcast, what it means to be a man, something along those lines. So that's going to be part of the resources. Demand disruption, that organization. And just options for teens and parents to know how to talk to teens, because the more that we bury it, which the church is really good at, the more the people will bury it. Then they're full of shame, and then they're afraid to come forward because then they're going to be known as that guy. But if you don't start talking about it and you don't start getting people comfortable with coming to you, then they're never going to. And I think that's something so important that churches need to realize is not talking about it doesn't mean it's not happening in your church. It's absolutely 1,000% happening with people that are coming to your church. And I just want them to be open to partnering with organizations or alliances that can get them educated, one, because people are coming to their pastors and their counselors at some point or another talking about, oh, hey, I'm struggling with this or this happened. Are they equipped to talk about it? Maybe, maybe not. Because this topic is very specific. It's not probably something they're learning in counseling school. I don't know. But this particular topic, because so many people also separate human trafficking from sex buyers and from prostitution, and they don't know that it's all connected in the same thing. And I think that education is important so that they can start to recognize it, be able to offer maybe an off-ramp or just conversations around this. And if they're not willing to talk about it on the stage, then nobody's going to be comfortable enough to talk to them behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. And I just think that needs to be step one. And they're not going to know how to do that unless they start partnering with other organizations. Yeah.
And just knowing they don't have to be the expert on the topic to make a difference. They can be that connection that gets them from here to there.
Mm-hmm. When you were talking, I was thinking about awareness and resources. And we do have churches who love to bring awareness to certain months, right? Mm-hmm. We have Breast Cancer Awareness Month and things like that. We wear pink, which is great. But we miss so many other ways to raise awareness. And I do remember thinking, why don't we have other awareness, like Domestic Violence Awareness Month, bullying awareness, all these things that are out there that's going on, and yet we stop where it's safe. I feel like the churches stop where it's safe, right? So I want to ask or talk about a more practical way. How can we I really want to figure out how we can get into the churches. Yes, there are churches who love the work. They support the work. But even loving and supporting the work is different from actually doing the work. It's not a lot of churches that are actually bringing in people and doing the work. They're supporting. They'll create things. They'll donate. They'll allow you to use their space. But how do we really get into the churches?
Yeah, I think that comes down to being relational too. being vulnerable is one of the big risks of human trafficking, being targeted, right? And so if a church is able to meet a person where they are in that vulnerability and fill that gap, that need, it's going to make them stronger and less likely to end up in a domestic violence situation or being sexually exploited or addicted to pornography or, X, Y, and Z. I think maybe the church's resources could potentially pivot a little bit and literally open door. We're going to meet you where we are, and this is how we're going to help you based on your need. And I also don't currently see very many churches that are set up that way. They are definitely supportive financially, and, we can go in and do sound bites and talk and X, Y, and Z, but there's a lot more they could do. Educating our youth, being an outlet to allow us to come in and educate our youth for prevention so that we can get ahead of the game and we don't end up with so many, with years and years of living that life. If we can meet them where they are and educate and equip them so that they can go into school, right? And they can talk to that student that's next to them that may be in a situation that they need help. There's just a lot more we could be doing, and it's hard to get into those spaces. And it may be for the fact that so many are involved in this network of exploiting other people.
It's a spotlight. It's a spotlight that's that's shining on darkness. So, I could be exposed, even though, and I think it's a spiritual thing. I'm spiritually, I feel like I'm being exposed. You don't see me. I'm doing whatever I'm doing behind closed doors. But if you bring awareness, you're bringing a light. And so I probably feel a bit convicted. Right? And maybe it's not something I want to happen. I was thinking as you were talking, Mindy, about the resources that we place in the bathroom stalls at the airports. It's really something as simple as that we could possibly do, because
that's what we're looking at. So that's
I have
part
more,
of the,
but I'm trying to control myself.
That's something, because when we were talking about providing resources in the lobby, it's like, well, what man's going to go up and pick up a flyer? So we're going to be having it also in the men's bathroom as well, so that it is a safe place for them without being outed in the middle of the rest of the church congregation, Right. But that's a great start. Like, say, hey, can we put this QR code in your restrooms, and just start there and see where it can go.
We actually did that for January is actually Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And so we printed off all these resources and had these posters made, and we went around to restaurants and businesses around town, and not one single person said no, which is interesting because also there are certain requirements for like hospitals and hotels. And so we actually, I take that back. We had at least 2 hotels that we know had been involved years ago in trafficking situations. They were actually trafficking women from Houston out of those hotels down there, young girls. And so we approached those owners, right? And he came from across the parking lot and was like, no, not English speaking, super sus, as my kids would say.
Right.
But the other businesses and restaurants, and still to this day, they have them taped up in the restrooms.
That's
and
awesome.
It's the Human Trafficking Awareness number. It's a QR code, right?
Yeah.
It's really simple.
It can be very simple.
Something in a private space where she can pull out her phone and scan it. Because it is very scary. There's a lot that it's going to take a lot for her to get to that point where she's like, I need help, or I feel safe enough to ask for help, right?
I mean, think of it. A lot of children go to the bathroom or the restrooms at churches alone. And we already know, where a lot of trafficking starts at home, right? And so this would be great to have just, in the churches committing to just a sticker.
Yeah.
That's all we want you to do. Yeah. Just post a sticker. Also, we do have our Stopping Sexual Exploitation program with UAHT. So we would love to be a part of your project moving forward, Lara.
It's already in there.
Thank
already
you.
Inserted that.
So we definitely we are expanding towards the faith-based community with the Stopping Sexual Exploitations and hoping to have cohorts in the churches or with male groups so they can be volunteer participants to be a part of that that program.
Love that. It's so good too because it all comes down to supply and demand, right? And so if we're just addressing the aftercare and like let's help her and let's help her and let's help her, but like what are we doing to stop the purchase?
Right.
Or like what is the root cause of why you think you need to purchase sex?
Exactly.
Like let's get real deep here.
And I'm all about helping the survivor side because that's my lane. I'm very thankful that there are other people that handle the demand side, but I know that's not my side.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm happy to connect churches and other people with those services because that is the root cause. But yeah, it's hard.
It is. Yeah. So let's talk about accountability for the churches. We probably touched on it a little bit, but what does accountability look like for churches who want to be a part of the solution? How can we talk to them about being accountable? What does that look like?
Good question.
I know we have so many church partners, which is just amazing. But financially, they really keep our program doors open. It's very expensive for us. Refuge for Women is actually lower than the national average of aftercare per resident, where I think we're around 42 or 46,000 per resident. I think the national average is in the 80s for most organizations. And so we definitely rely on our church partners financially for sure and couldn't keep our doors open without that monthly support. I think they're big in supply drives too. Like we're running a home, so it's toilet paper, it's feminine products, it's all these things that we need that you wouldn't necessarily think of. But it's just they're doing the basics that actually fill a very significant need for us.
And I think drives are so great because the certain people that don't want to go diving into human trafficking work, that is something that they can do and be a part of, which is helpful because you need those things. And then maybe in time, they'll be like, well, let me learn a little bit more. Well, who is this organization that we're giving to? And really, it could just be about planting seeds and letting God see how they want to grow. But the more that you can just be present in churches with the drives and saying, hey, we support this organization, I think that is so important in one way or another, just to get organizations' names in the church, whether it's a QR code or a drive or maybe a soundbite. It's not what we want. We want like 2 hours to talk to everybody every Sunday, but and just educate everybody until there's no more problems. But I think just being more intentional with organizations, calling up churches and emailing them and saying, hey, can we do this Sunday? Or can we make this a regular quarterly thing? Whatever it is. I just think that could maybe open some more doors.
Yeah, it's also like one of the only places where there are hundreds of people you can reach in just a few minutes, right? So there's volunteer opportunities and we need prayer for this. And you can really it's like your only chance really that you have that many people and that many people's attention to really touch their hearts and see if they can do something to help or if they have a passion for it or if they need help themselves, right?
And some churches do a missions day where all the missions have a booth at the end of each service and then people can go around. We have that once a year. So again, try to find churches that are hosting those and just be present. And just letting people know that you're there and what your needs are and what classes that you offer. And that's another
I guess being invited to the table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let us just come to the table.
Right.
Wheel table. If you're having a spring fest, let us come out and just put something on the table and not say much or,
exactly.
Let us use your meeting space, for our meetings. I was looking at survivor-centered in a faith setting, right? And I do sometimes survivors are victims. They're not victims of faith. What does that look like support those individuals?
Yeah, for us, this is a question we get quite a lot, because we have applicants that apply. We have 10 homes across the country. So, but we are crystal clear that we love Jesus. We are Jesus infused with everything. You don't have to know Jesus, love Jesus, anything. But just be aware that when you come through our program doors, we are going to pray for you and we're going to teach you about Jesus and why we love him. We are going to use our own testimonies to increase your faith. And not only that, but our residents see miracles and blessings every single day in each other, in our staff, in the way we can pray things in if we have a need. It's just not a tangible way, but our residents are going to see Jesus and feel it. And eventually, we've not had a single one that has not asked to be baptized or has had their eyes open to like what happens when you follow Christ. And they are truly redeemed when they welcome him into their lives. We have had some residents that have started our program understanding that and very quickly realizing, they weren't kidding. Like they love Jesus and this is not for me, right? And that's okay. They are still on our prayer list, and wherever they have ended up, we're still praying for them because you can't hear these stories and see the redemption and the healing that has taken place without believing in a higher power. So.
I want to add, I was having a conversation the other day about the same thing that we're talking about right now. And this organization allows for their clients to, when they're having service for, whatever faith they're having their service for, the clients stay outside. They're allowed to not participate in service. They do have to come out of the room and they do have to come and congregate, but they are allowed to stay in the, the foyer area, and until the service is over. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, I let me back up and just add, we don't make anybody pray or worship or do any of that. We're super flexible, and you're welcome to go sit at the table while the other residents are Monday morning praise and worship on full blast, dancing in the living room, because literally that happens. And so we don't make anybody believe in Jesus or read their Bible or participate in those things. But they're just going to come to see that, like, hey, I'm going to be a part of that. That's something special, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. There's a lot of partner homes. Some are faith-based, like y'all's, and some are not. And statistically, what we found is women that are in faith-based homes have over a 60% retention rate, which means they don't go back into the life, versus if they're in a non-faith-based home, it's usually around 32%. So you can just see, I think that's just a testimony to God, like how great he is, that if you just meet him halfway, he'll take you the rest. And I can completely understand why they, are, no, I don't believe in God, or I don't want to be a part of it. But I think if they start to be around it enough, then they start thinking, oh, maybe there is something to this. But something else that we have, that one of the organizations that I partner with have tracked, is about 20 to 30% of the women that are exiting with them have been a victim of satanic ritual abuse. Mm-hmm. So then we have a whole nother layer that's in play with that. And there's only, I think, 3 partner homes that take women with that extra level of trauma.
Yes.
And it's important to know you can't judge them off the bat, because goodness gracious, who knows what they've been through. Mm-hmm. And maybe they're going to share all of it, maybe they won't. But I think just sharing testimonies and being a good example of what it looks like to be a Christ follower, that can take people so much further than anything else.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yep. I don't know much about what you just said, the satanic ritual abuse. Have either of you experienced anything like that, or with a survivor? Yeah. What did that look like?
Yeah, we had a resident who entered our program with no mention of any of that, and it wasn't long, and there were some circumstances where she was doing some rituals outside of other residents' bedrooms and things, and our program director immediately was like, "Nope, not today, Satan. You know, it ain't happening in this house." And we unfortunately had to remove her from our program. Because again, it's not in line with what we are doing in our program home. But I know that it's a huge problem. What was the percentage you said?
20 to 30%, but that was only through one exit hotline, right? Like there were so many others.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That one opened my eyes. This is a personal question, but, not personal. What have survivors taught you that changed the way you do this work?
I think a lot of it has to do with more empathy. Like there is no judgment. No matter what flies out of their mouth, you just don't have judgment because of the trauma that they've experienced and I haven't because I'm not a survivor of human trafficking. However, I think that also carries into so many other places in my life, like with my business, with working with other people, with working with the church even. And when our monthly outreach, we call females that are being exploited. And there's I wouldn't say almost every single night, at least one call goes to prayer. And people are cheering in their groups, and then they come back and they're talking about it and the gospel that they got to share. And the energy and the hope in that room, in that moment is like, I wish I could just bottle it up and sell it because people are so scared to talk about human trafficking. But I'm like, man, we have the best time at outreach. And I don't mean to say that in like a ingenuine way or like a not serious way, but because when you're so dark, the smallest light is so bright. And I get to experience that every single month at our outreach. And so do my volunteers. And that's just something that you don't get to experience in everyday life for a lot of people. And that's just such a gift that the survivors have given me to speak selfishly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. For me, it's just been so incredibly humbling. Like we live in such a all about me world, right? And it's like, I can literally remember there was a day right after I started working, I went to get a coffee. I'm a huge coffee nut, right? I got a real bad problem, like
ditto,
real bad. My kids can't even go to college because it's all sitting at Starbucks. But whatever, maybe they can work at Starbucks.
They pay for college,
yeah,
from
right.
what I understand,
right? So I'm sitting in like through the drive-through, and it's like 3 cars in front of me, and I'm like, come on, I can't back up, I can't go forward, and it just wrecked my whole day. Like it took so long to get my coffee. How dare these people? Right? That used to be like the old me. And now it's like, I just laugh at myself. Like, who do you think you are? Like the worst thing that happened to you is it took an extra 10 minutes to get your triple venti white mocha. Like, my diamond shoes are too tight and my 50s don't fit in my wallet. Woe is me.
Right.
Okay. Let's just stop a second and think, wow, does she have clean clothes? When's the last time she had a new pair of underwear? Like, let's be for real. When's the last time she was given food or a decent place, a safe place to sleep? It's just such an eye opener when you hear some of their stories and you realize I am so incredibly blessed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to complain about doing dishes tonight because guess what? I had food to feed my kids.
That's right.
And I have a place to clean my dishes, and I have a roof over my head. Like, it's just such a curtain has been lifted on my entire life that like every single day is literally a blessing. And we are beyond blessed. We have cars that works. We have jobs. We have clean clothes. We have, healthy kids, kind of healthy kids. We have health issues, but guess what? We have health insurance, right?
Right.
So it's just, for me, it's just been so incredibly humbling that it's just changed my life.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up. We're a me culture, and so many times I'll have volunteers come in. They're like, "Oh, I was tired. I almost didn't come tonight." But by the end of the night, they're like, "I'm so glad I came."
Yeah,
because they made a difference in somebody's life that night, and that's huge. And so, it's obviously our main goal is to reach victims, but what it does with us is really something special. Yeah.
For sure.
What I got from that is sincerely placing ourselves in their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We can say all day, because sometimes we're so quick to say, I understand. That drives me absolutely insane.
You
when
can't
someone's
understand.
going through something, I understand. No, you don't.
No, you don't. Don't say that.
Stop saying that. So, but really, really thinking about what this person has to be going through or went through really does help.
Yeah,
like
or
you
lost or has never had.
All the things. It's like I'm upset because of my triple venti white mocha, right?
You got
Which
it.
is
That's
probably
my order.
like what is that? The
$9.
one? Yeah. Right. I'm upset. My kids can't go to college because I have to pay for my coffee.
Right.
But you hear of somebody who probably
has lived in a tent and been taken advantage of 10 times every night for the past 10 years, just for food.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, wow. Now my eyes are open and I see wow.
It's almost like we have to take a step back and really close our eyes and say, wow, how could I endure this? How does this person endure this? Can I imagine being in that space? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I think it helps my prayer life a lot too, because I'm more thankful. I think I just do gratitude walks and just thank God for everything I can think of. And then praying for more people than you probably normally do in a regular day. Because when you see things and hear things, you're like, oh, I just need to pray for that.
It's interesting.
Because the more that you see and hear, the more that you have to pray for. And we see and hear a lot of things. So
yeah. And it's interesting you say that because one of my first jobs years and years ago, I had a coworker. I was venting. I had a new baby and was, making not very much money. And I'm like, how are we supposed to pay for formula and diapers and all these things? And she looked at me. She was older, and she said, you need to pray it in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, what does that even mean? She said, well, years and years ago, her kids were older. They were in the same situation, and she prayed it in. And there was a time when her son needed bigger clothes, right? And they had just bought him all these bigger clothes. And so she just got on her knees, started praying in that clothes and shoes would show up. And sure enough, the next day on her doorstep, a friend had left a bag of something that exactly what they needed. And so it taught me all those years ago, like, pray it in before you go and I need to save all this money for a new car or X, Y, and Z. Have you asked?
Right.
Have you gone to your father and said, look, I have a need.
Yeah.
Can you help me fill this need? Mm-hmm. And watch what happens. It's amazing. So pray that stuff in, pray for them and pray for the need. And it will work out every time.
Every time.
Well, we probably all read Pray for Everything somewhere, right?
Yep.
Pray for everything.
Pray for everything.
Another thing I got from what you were saying about judgment, I wrote it down, judgment plus a wall, because that's what happens once we judge. That wall grows and gets taller, equals zero success. Mm-hmm. There's no success because we are so busy judging and they are protecting themselves, and no success from that. So thank you. I want to talk about hope.
Ooh, yay.
Oh, it's good to talk. I said a good word.
Yeah.
So where do you see hope in this movement right now?
All over the place. I see it with...
You jumped on that one really quick,
right? She didn't even look at me. She just went for it.
Every time we talk to somebody, whether they are receiving what we are saying or not, so many times that person does take a step forward with something. There is hope, but if you don't do anything, if you don't say anything, if you're not getting plugged in, if you're not learning, then there is no hope, right? But if you're doing stuff, if you're talking to people, if you're volunteering, if you're getting involved, if you're working in this space, that's just nothing but hope. So it's up to you on how much hope you have in your life and how much hope that you give others. You can either sit back and do nothing when nothing's going to happen, or you can try something. And people all the time say, this problem is too big. I can't do anything about it. my help isn't going to do enough. Well, you're not here to end human trafficking in the world. You're here to maybe help one person today. It's the one. It's one person. And because that one person is a human being with a heart and a soul and a life that God wants good things for. And you just focus on the one. And then that's like a huge win, not a loss because you didn't get the other 900 million people that you haven't talked to or made contact with. And I think that hope is the foundation of what we do, because if we didn't have hope, I mean, why get out of bed, right? I don't know how else to really put that. It's kind of blunt, but, and you can find hope in all kinds of things, little things, big things. But the more that you talk to survivors and people that work in this space, we get to share success stories sometimes, and it's like, oh wow, that was amazing. As I haven't had a success story maybe a few weeks or something like that, and you're just like, oh yeah, see, good things are happening. And yeah, hope is the cornerstone.
Yeah, and I think too, just to expand on that, like let's see, coming up on 5 years being in this role, I don't remember when I started. Ever seen the political movements or the Take It Down Act, all these things on the other side of raising awareness. I don't remember seeing people talking about child exploitation or any of these things in the news or in the media, right? Yeah. And so now there's all these things. It's almost hard to keep track of, quite honestly. There are things happening that seem to be going in the right direction.
Yes.
Hopefully we can get those figured out and passed and nailed down. It's a big ask, especially knowing how corrupt some of these big businesses and political figures are or have been accused of being, right? It's kind of murky water, but in the 5 years that I've been in this space, it seems like we're going in the right direction, right? So I'm very hopeful that some of these things can be passed and we can start getting ahead of the issue.
I've been in this space for 8.5 years, and I would say probably the first 3, so probably right when you kind of got in, there just never seemed to be much traction. There was, it was like, wait a second, like, nobody's talking about it. You never heard about it. And then it was like, ooh, wow, there's some traction starting. And then maybe kind of slow down. And then there's some traction. And then, just because it kind of ebbs and flows. But the amount of progress that's been made recently is very hopeful. And because really, obviously, trafficking is not a new problem. It's been around for all of the time. But, the legal term and the legal laws around this are new. And so we're just way behind in just trying to tackle this problem. And so just to see the progress and to talk to people that are working on that side with cases and legal things and hearing them say, this is happening. And I'm like, ooh, yes. I don't have to have my hand in that, but just hearing directly from those people, I'm like, oh, so excited, so hopeful. Here we go. So I think that we will be alive to see major, major strides and changes in our lifetime. And I'm so excited.
Hope is also one of my favorite words, by the way. And I read somewhere, and you're probably familiar with this, hope that is seen is not hope. And so sometimes I was thinking about what you were saying, how people are saying there's no difference, nothing is changing, right? Well, if you can see what's going to come, then what's the use of having hope?
Yeah.
That's what hope is all about.
Just like faith.
Yes. And so we are charged with planting the seed. No one ever promised us that we would see it grow. Just plant the seed. So thank you.
Love that. So
we're going to land on our last question for you and you. What is one practical step any congregation or church can take this month, the month of April?
I would say if they're listening, to reach out to an organization. If they don't know of an organization, reach out to one of us, and we are happy to point them in maybe the lane that they would like to support, because there's a lot of lanes, and just say, hey, what can we do? And I think if they're not listening, I would just pray that if any of these organizations are reaching out to churches, that they are receptive.
I would say I would challenge you to reach out to your youth.
That's a good one.
Get some parents together and have a basic 101 human trafficking. Do some research or call us in. Have us come and talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
But see if there's a need in your congregation. Just like you said, plant that seed and see what comes out of that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I had something else and I forgot. You said something and I was like, yeah, I want to touch on it. I didn't write it down. Give me a moment.
Okay. Yeah, I think hosting a class, or maybe even just a discovery meeting with parents and kids.
Yeah, and
just saying, hey, what are y'all looking for?
Exactly.
Ask them questions. Ask the congregation what they want.
Yeah.
Do you want education for your kids? Do you want education about porn? Do you want education about trafficking? Like, what do y'all want to hear? And then we can help y'all find that.
Yeah, and that's hard to navigate too, because, you ask the parents, come in and we're going to talk about human trafficking and educate your kids. But if we all know that 40% are first trafficked in a familial setting, then how do we reach those kids who are in those situations, right? So it gets a little sticky.
It does, yeah.
But it's still worth the church saying,
of course.
Hey, or those kids that are not in those situations, let's equip and empower them to go in and help those other kids. So I think it's just a good first step. Like, let's see where those vulnerabilities are, and let's go out into our congregation and host a meeting and start there.
Maybe pass out a survey one Sunday.
Yeah.
Be like,
yes. A gentle survey. Like. You want a gentle survey?
Gentle survey.
We'll make it gentle.
With check boxes.
Right.
Like, you don't even have to write anything.
Right.
Check a box.
Check a box.
I also want to add men. We need more men in the movement.
Yes, we do.
So I want to add that. I know we are women speaking, but we need more men. You mentioned children, youth ministry, but I want to challenge churches to bring forth men ministries as well and work on our men in the movement.
And we also need men in the survivor space who can be an example of Christ-centered, godly men, right?
Yes.
They need to see a husband and wife teaching a class or a husband and wife doing things together, because most of them have probably not seen what a healthy relationship looks like with boundaries and respect. And so, those volunteer opportunities, we love to have couples come in and teach classes. And quite honestly, our residents love when the men come in, because they're like, wow. They have so much this preconceived notion that all men are bad. And so they need to be able to model and see that not all men are bad. And that's hard to overcome, but it's doable.
Yeah. That is something that we see every month with our male volunteers. Because a lot of people say, oh, can men even volunteer? Oh, yes, please. Because they get further. Because, again, we're calling females that are being exploited. So first of all, the women are expecting a man to call them. And so they're not caught off guard. They're not kind of like, ooh, somebody's judging me. But then what happens is it plants that seed, because we're all about planting our seeds, that not all men want them for one thing. And it changes so much. And our men usually have the most successful calls, and they get to prayer more with them. They get to spread the gospel more with them. Like, the conversations can go for a while, and they're just like, wow, I had no idea. And because that's one of the many, many lies that their pimp or trafficker sells them is, you can't do anything else. No man is going to want you for anything else. You're never going to have a normal life. You're never going to get married. You're never going to have kids. This is what you do. And this is all men want you for. That's not true. But we need the men to step up and show them that.
Yeah.
To try to change that framework in their mind, because then they can think, well, if my pimp's lying to me about this, what else are they lying to me about? So get that ball rolling.
That's really good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mindy and Lara, for being our guests. We really appreciate you. And thank you, listeners, for listening in. If today's conversation resonated with you, we encourage you to share this episode. If this is your first time hearing about our work, you can learn more at uaht.org or find us on social media. We are United Against Human Trafficking. Thank you for being part of the movement. Until all are free, I'm Rhonda Holmes.